Bitcoin initiates a bone-shattering, moon boy-destroying mega dump all the way down to prices we haven't seen since a couple of days ago. Are the moon boys absolutely finished, or is this all part of the largest reach-around surprise since the beginning of mankind? Right now, Bitcoin sits firmly under the $30,000 level after what would be considered the biggest dump of the last 3 to 4 days has occurred on the Bitcoin price charts. However, I want to point your attention to 3 absolutely insanely charts and 1 absolutely gigantic, ginormous, insanely big price target that we're going to be looking at. Before we jump into that, let's take a look at this. So, U.S. debt would threaten a U.S. debt default would threaten a basic anchor of the global financial system and must not happen, according to BlackRock Vice Chairman Philip Hildebrand. This is very big as we're seeing the U.S. get squeezed tighter and tighter into basically a place it doesn't want to be. In addition here, inflation, according to U.S. Fed official John Williams, inflation will take 2 years to fall below 2%. And that will lead to higher unemployment well over 4%. Transitory? How about you transition to a baby bull? But also, we found out that Joe Rogan, the host of Fear Factor, and potentially one of the baldest men to ever live, holds Bitcoin. This is very big. But now I want to actually jump into a few charts. So I want to start off by looking at Mustache, El Crypto Prof on Twitter, his chart here. And this is a very clear, very basic, but very telling chart that we see with a very clear, from bull cycle to bear cycle to bull cycle, very clear top, very clear horizontal resistance, and a very clear descending level of support mixed in with a very key moving average on the monthly chart. This is gigantic. This is not a tiny chart. You know, we're not zooming into the 1 minute chart or even the 1 day chart. This is a monthly chart going back nearly a decade here. And as you can see, when Bitcoin kind of gets to the middle of this pattern, which also coincides with this moving average, historically, there has been one very big thing that has happened when Bitcoin does this. Now, the reason I also highlighted this as a macro chart, guys, is because this takes time. This is a monthly chart. So it doesn't really matter what happens tomorrow. It doesn't matter in the very, very short term. And that's what people get so caught up in all the time. And I've been in crypto for years. And even still, I look at a little dump, say Bitcoin drops a couple $1,000s. The little bear boy, the little moon boy in the back of my brain, lights up and says, oh, goodness, is this going to be bad? Is this going to be a big drop? Then within half a second, my rational brain kicks in and thinks, none of this matters, right? Let's say Bitcoin drops 3,000 tomorrow, and then next week it goes up 5,000. Is it worth caring about that move? If you're trading very, very short time frames, then yes. But if the answer to that question is no, then it simply doesn't really matter that much. So with that being said, again, this chart, along with a million others, very bullish, and we're going to be taking a look also. Another very clear, zoomed out chart, almost the exact same chart, but just showing instead the downward sloping resistance instead of the support, and showing Bitcoin kind of really start to erupt there. As we lead into the halving as well, okay, that has been the most tried and true metric that, if you don't know anything about crypto and somebody would come up to you and say, Bitcoin has performed very well according to these 4-year cycles, and that is fundamentally tied to the every 4-year halving, somebody would say to you, what are you talking about? And if you would explain that to them, right, I guarantee most of the people, actually I would say like 90+% of the people that think Bitcoin is a scam probably don't even understand the concept of the halving. There are many people, surprisingly, that I've met as well, that have a very strong opinion on Bitcoin, but don't even know that it has a capped supply. They'll say things like, why does Bitcoin have value? You can just make as much of it as you want. No, you can't, right? And there are people forming opinions about Bitcoin without doing that research, which if you did 5 minutes of research, you would know that. So basically, this is what blows my mind. There are people that have opinions, very strong opinions about Bitcoin. Remember, it's existed for over a decade. There are people that have very strong opinions about Bitcoin that literally have not read about it for 5 minutes. Blows my mind. I think it should be a law that you shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion on something if you don't spend at least, 30 seconds researching it, right? I think everyone's entitled to their opinion if you do some research. If I got on here and I said banana soup, it's disgusting. Banana soup is the worst. But guess what? I've never had banana soup. So I don't get to say the banana soup is disgusting. It's too chunky. It's too ooey and gooey, right? I can't say the banana soup is gross. I've never had banana soup, right? The world would be such a better place if people formed opinions after doing the smallest amount of due diligence and research. Just a little food for thought for as well. If anyone has had banana soup, let me know in the comments below. But also, everything going according to plan. This is the crypto market cap. This is not Bitcoin. This is crypto. And as you can see, guys, with this cross, this only occurs roughly like once every couple of years. With this cross, very bullish things heading to Bitcoin. But if we take a look, I kind of want to zoom out and take a look at what exactly Bitcoin has done in the short term. So if we look at Bitcoin, clearly, again, we're not even back to the middle of the bone zone, which is right between 32 and 25K. And as I've been saying for weeks, 25K is a very legitimate pullback, I believe. Now, if we look at this chart too, this is a very clear level where we could find some support. But as I've been saying for weeks and weeks, if we visit 25 and even slightly below that, I personally think that that's more likely. Guys, we have had a massive bust over just the last, the entire year of 2023 so far. So nearly 4 months, a pretty big bust to the upside. We did have one dramatic pullback. And do you guys remember what everyone was saying back when we had this pullback just a literal month ago, right? Do you guys remember what people were saying back then? They were creaming and screaming their jorts off. Okay, they were ripping their jean shorts off and going completely crazy, saying, "Oh my gosh, yes, 10K is coming," because we went back below 20K again for a little itsy bitsy brief second, and then not only did we initiate a bust, we initiated a bust from beyond, going from about 19 to again over 30K. So, looking at this chart, zooming out. To me, is this a really significant pullback? No, I personally think that, coming down here and even slightly below this in sort of like a quick fashion like this is a more legitimate pullback. Now, there's no guarantee that it'll happen, but all I'm saying is, because I'm trying to prepare you for this, if something like this happens, not only is it not the end of the world, it is exactly what Bitcoin always does in bullish consolidation. Okay, because it's very easy to get taken over by emotions and start losing your mind. But that's literally just how price action always works. So nothing that crazy there. But again, I can highlight this chart of the weekly chart Bitcoin showing very identical setups here in terms of the relief rallies. As well, I do want to look at Bitcoin. Yeah, just Bitcoin on the daily chart. Right now we're holding right around the 21 day. 26K is right around the 50-day moving average, and the 200 is actually all the way down at 21. And also keep in mind, there's a decent amount of support there as well. But I do want to highlight that if we look at this chart and we go back kind of just, if we take a look at the price action of 2023, the largest amount of volume on this chart for the past month is right about this level. It's actually around 23K, so slightly below this level. So actually, so like 25K is right here, like the very tippy tops of that. And that's exactly why I say we could wick below 25K. Because there's more accumulated volume there. There's more historical support there as well, because there was a lot more resistance there. Again, we only peaked and squeaked our head above 25K like a couple of times before we ultimately busted, but we spent so much time around 23K. And really between like 21 and 23K, we spent so much time there. So again, very absolutely important thing to be watching. If we take a look also, and again, that's also where this some of these key daily moving averages are. But if we take a look as well, we're watching the SPX to see if it has any sort of double top, to see what the momentum does here. Again, I personally think the SPX is going to shift into some bearish momentum in the short term, which would perfectly line up with a Bitcoin pullback. The DXY still looks kind of pathetic, honestly. And yeah, I don't really see much for that. And if you guys are interested in trading, make sure to check out the links below. I'm currently up roughly a measly 22K in profit roughly on these longs. Again, people keep asking, when do I plan on stop not longing Bitcoin? When I'm a trillionaire, okay? That's how this works. For me, not financial advice, but for me, I'll stop longing when I'm a trillionaire. So never. unless I become a trillionaire. Very unlikely. But if you're interested, sign up with the links below. 0 fees for spot trading when you sign up with my links below, in addition to all of the massive deposit and sign up bonuses as well. Quick tutorials are popping up and in the description below. And if you're interested in delegating your ADA with no risk and getting free ADA as a staking reward to help validate the network, you can sign up, or you don't sign up, you just simply delegate to our pool, TSC Stake Pool, and the instructions for that are also in the description below. And without any further ado, may the pump be with you.